Cool, right? So yeah, like let me know your story. I always ask guys this is a weird question, but like, why did you decide to trust a random stranger on the internet to save your marriage?
Yeah, that is a good question. So my wife and I have been married. We just September 28th was our 10-year anniversary. And we were together 4 years before that. So we've been together almost 14 years, a little over 14 years. Three kids. We were having struggles over the last couple of years, just with kids, busy cycle. Everything was just kind of chaotic. We built a house during that time, trying to catch up, and we sought couples counseling, and it really didn't do us very well. It seemed like it got better, but then we decided we're good here, let's quit, and then it was just kind of like a she was ready for a separation, um,
Oh,
and that's kind of like when I reached out within 3 or 4 days after that, just kind of trying to figure out what I can do, how I can better it.
yeah. So that marriage counseling thing, like, was she pretending it got better? Did it actually get better? Then got worse? Like, what happened there?
I feel like she was more or less pretending throughout it. And I didn't, through it all, like I kind of was just riding the wave. Um, I was just teasing, trying to make whatever better. And that's what I thought I had to do. You know, this is what she wants, this is what I'll do kind of thing. And that's where I was at. And it just really, I didn't know what I was trying to fix, I guess, at that point in time, or how it was actually making it better.
Uh, so what did you think? Because this is one thing. One of the first exercises we do in the program, right? But like, what did you think were the issues at the time, if you had to guess?
Um, the issues between my wife and myself, it was just like lack of communication was one, but I didn't know how to communicate it. Um, and then I didn't know if I was like, fulfilling all of her needs as like being a friend, a partner, all that stuff. Like there was just so many blanks there where like she wasn't speaking and I didn't know how to read between the lines there.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about like, and that is the most common diagnosis for like the following of a relationship is like, oh, we don't know how to communicate. But communication is like so multi-layered, as I'm sure you know by now, right? Like it means so
Yeah.
many different things. It's not just the words you're using. It's like understanding her emotions, you asserting your needs, understanding those, like having like social, like the awareness of like your actual core emotions that are going on. Like there's so many different layers to it when someone says we don't know how to communicate, that no one teaches us, right? And um so I mean, how overall do you remember how you felt during that kind of therapy experience? Was it positive, negative, combination?
It was definitely a combination through them. I knew like just trying to read I spent a lot of time in those just trying to read my wife's body language and how she was feeling. And I was trying to match that versus kind of focusing on myself throughout it. And I think that's obviously where I was going wrong versus right. I was focusing on her 100%
Mm-hmm.
there and trying to match that. So like, I don't know, like I definitely felt like I wasn't winning, but at the same point in time, like I'd ask her how she was doing or how we were doing, and she'd say, "We're getting better. We're getting better." And I didn't know why we were getting better, but we were getting better.
But in
But I,
reality,
I didn't, yeah, I didn't feel any different. Like I felt like it was still the same thing. But like she says we're getting better, then we must be getting better. Like that's
yeah,
kind of where I was at.
she's the arbiter of the marriage barometer. That's a way to put it.
Exactly.
And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you were in that kind of Mr. Fix It mode. Let's use logic. Just tell me what I got to do, and I just want to get it done and over with.
110%. That's
Yeah,
the only way I was looking at it is how can I fix this?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that metaphor I gave, like I used to use the house metaphor, but it's like more like the plant, like the marriage is like something you have to nurture and heal versus fix, right? And
Hmm.
throwing a bunch of water on the plant's not gonna make it grow.
No.
You suffocate it, right? So okay, cool. So how long ago did you join the program? It's second week of October.
I probably joined maybe June-ish. Must have been right around June.
Okay, so you've been, yeah, you spent some time in the program. You've been consistent and persistent with it. So um
Yes.
walk me through where things are at right now. Like what are some of the wins that you've been having?
Some of the wins. So, I mean, there's a lot of wins. We communicate very well. We on all levels. I mean, we're always communicating. We're always talking. There's a lot of we definitely intimate with each other. we have that friendship, that ultimate that I was looking for right away. Like we have a strong connection there. Um, just from the beginning, I mean, I had great success right away as soon as like talking to Kristen, and she's kind of explaining to me like, like I wasn't actually hearing my wife's side of the story. Like that's where like the light bulb effect went on, is learning how to hear what my wife was saying and yet voicing what I had also, and getting my through. So like as soon as I kind of figured out those things, like how to hear her and how to validate her feelings and also insert my feelings through it, that's where I kind of saw the success going forward on it. Um, so yeah, we have had, you know, we're always doing stuff together. It's great. Like it's what we used to have before kids, but now we have 3 kids that are super busy, but yet we still manage to find time for each other.
Wow. Wow. And so, I mean, I guess I didn't, I know you guys went to counseling in the beginning. Sorry, I got to backtrack a little bit, but like, did she mention divorce? Did she mention separation? I'm no longer in love with you. Like, what was like that conversation like that led to counseling?
Um, so the counseling was, it was like right after we got done building our house. I'm a contractor myself, so
Oh, nice.
that's where, I spent a lot of time building our own house, yet trying to run my own company. So it was, I wasn't 100% in, the family. I was kind of definitely partaked or stepped away from it a little bit. So I knew that was going to put stress on it, but separation wasn't brought up through couples counseling at all. That came after couples counseling. After everything was good, all of a sudden the ball just dropped and she was looking for a separation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of, but it was just more or less why we went to couples counseling, because we both knew something wasn't right, between us.
Okay. You just felt it. Like, what were some of the symptoms? Like, you guys just weren't connecting as much. Like, sex wasn't what it used to be, or like, what were some of the things you could tell?
Yeah, sex wasn't used to be. We like really didn't have satisfaction with hanging out with each other, or even a need to want to. Um, there was just always that you do your thing, I'll do my thing kind of thing. Like there was never that happy median where we want to be together, be around each other. It was definitely the roommate factor in our house.
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
So
And yeah. So okay. Now, yeah. That I have a clear picture now for sure. So Ryan, you said you guys are good at communicating now. Like, yeah, don't be shy. Like, tell me all the things that are going positively now, where you're currently at. Like some of the wins.
some of the wins. So like, we have, I guess, just every day, like we have more or less a schedule that we're kind of set to. So we wake up every morning. Like I said, 3 kids. We're up by 4:30 a.m. Um, we're definitely both into fitness, and we've kind of both put that into. So we do that, and we still have a little time in the morning where we both, eat breakfast. We have a cup of coffee together, all before the kids get up, and that alone is just a win, because we can kind of just set our day. We can communicate whether it's the day related or the day before, just trying to get things out. And then wins throughout it. I mean, we are always. It's just, yeah, how to explain
You're
it, but
smiling. What are you smiling about?
it's a lot different than what it used to be. Where we can voice our concerns, and there's still like, times where my wife, she will get down. You can see like she's acting on her emotions in that spot, but it's a win in myself because I see it more as a challenge. Like, how can I get her out of that? How fast can I change her mood on that by just saying something or cracking a joke here or whatever else? Like last night we were doing it with the kids. Like she was definitely stressed from her day at work. I was downstairs playing floor hockey in the basement with them, and she came in and like she was, expressing some of the stuff that she was like wanted to get done right then and there. And like me and the kids were all laughing, giggling, and it was just like a smart little joke to her. And like it just changed her whole mood set right there. And like she went from being negative to positive to having fun with us. And it's like, it's nice to be able to see that. So it's just a win just like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, like, a year ago, how that interaction would have went differently.
I would have fell right into her negativity on it. I went to set my own. Me and the kids were having a great time. We didn't need her down there, like nothing like that. Not that we don't want her down there, but we didn't need her down there. We were getting ready for bed. We just try to. It's like big movements before bed to get our kids to sleep well.
Sure.
So floor hockey is one of them, and we were all set up, ready to go. So it was just A year ago, I would have fell right into the negativity. I would have probably just dropped the floor hockey game. I would have joined her and just been down on it. Instead, we just lifted her right up and she was happy and everything went well. It went great.
Yeah, so it's literally like instead of going down to her negativity at the time, how she's feeling stressed out, you brought her up to yours, and that is that masculine leading, right? Like,
Yes.
oh man, and consistently doing that over time, it's led to just the relationship dynamic is shifted. It sounds like.
It has shifted 100%, but just how fast the smile on her face came last night, just how she just, it was great.
Would you say that's the biggest win you've had throughout this program so far?
Yes, just making, just setting that frame for her and being her shore and not stepping down.
Mhm.
That's my greatest thing.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. And like you guys are being intimate again, you guys being affectionate, or
Yes, absolutely. And it's not, just once a month. I mean, it's definitely a lot better than what it used to be, where it's multiple times a week. Um, so, and it's her initiating and me. So it's not just one of us doing it, which is great also.
yeah.
Um,
And so I guess like diagnosing everything now, looking at it, there's seeing where you were with like just trying to fix it, get through it. So now you're like, all right, I need to be that shore, that masculine frame. That's definitely one thing that you've done. If you can point out maybe like what are the two other things that you've learned across this program that you started to implement that has led to this change?
um, I would definitely say so. Not matching her emotions was huge, which I can kind of just put on that. And then approaching like conversations with curiosity, so she
Mm,
has a lot of that was pointed out to me like early one of my first war room calls, like how to approach that and bring that in. Um, but just, there's a lot of things where I don't really know exactly what she's talking about, but before I would just kind of just blank stare at it and just okay, okay. But now it's like asking, what is this? What are we doing here? How does this work? And just having that curiosity in there, it's so much more in depth and it leads to so much more. So that's just a huge thing that I've noticed, and how not only with my wife, but just in general in work, all that kind of stuff. It's just been huge to help me just kind of express myself a little bit more and I guess learn more throughout it too.
yeah, absolutely. And so like with besides like not falling into her frame and keeping that masculine short, um, has there been other communication skills? Okay, you mentioned communication in the beginning, now knowing what it is. Like have you learned any other communication type skills that have led to some growth as well?
Other skills. So yeah, approaching with curiosity, and then I guess I'm not really too sure on
No,
how.
yeah. So well, I'll just say with approaching with curiosity, like that one is I'll just add on to that how vital that is because a lot of us men, right? People, not just men, right? People in general, when we hear something, those assumptions come automatically. They're unconscious, right? They said
Yes,
this thing and it means this thing, especially through text message, right? Like that more than anything. It's like
that's
trying to
yes,
read between the lines. And so often when you have like a lot of that like negativity and you're a negative sentiment override, because it's those years of just becoming roommates, there's lack of polarity. It's just like you see that person as like this almost like a source of neutral to negative stimulus. And you're like, so everything they say, you just get triggered more often by it, right? And I'm sure you've seen that for yourself
absolutely.
with her, but removing that lens of assumption and allowing that curiosity when she says something, or let's say even when oh, this is a good one, right? Like, tell me if you relate to this. I know a lot of guys do. When she came down, she was all stressed out from work. Like a lot of times, guys, you could see her stress automatically, like, oh my gosh, it's about me or something, right? But really,
Yeah,
maybe not, right? It's like, so when you have that curiosity, it allows you to remove yourself out of the equation and kind of look at things from like a third person perspective, right? Bird's eye perspective. And that allows you to not get your own ego involved and become defensive.
exactly.
That's amazing.
So
That's amazing. Well, so what about I really want to lean into this like this masculine frame. So you like have you been also been like leading more in other areas of the life, like making decisions or like
yeah, so like as soon as like the separation came on, we were in the process of purchasing like a camper fish house thing for our family. So when the separation came on, it was like we had it ordered and I kind of canceled the order through it. And then soon after that, I found the program here or whatever else. And then it wasn't, it wasn't something I wanted to cancel and get rid of. Like I still wanted, whether Lindsay was with me or not, I still want that part in my kid's life is camping and fishing and all that stuff. So I kind of just let that go. Like I just went up to her one day and said, like I still want to buy a fish house camper. Like whether it's that one or a different one, there's one down there that I want to go purchase, and I would love to go down there tonight and get it with you. Otherwise, I'm going to buy a different one. And like just setting that road right there to her. There was a laid out plan. She got in the truck and we went down and we bought a new fish house, and we sat out there all evening after the kids went down. And that was like the first time we were intimate too, and the whole program. So that's where like just seeing that, like laying out, like I understand like you want a separation. We can afford this. Whether you want to be part of it or not, this is the way I want to go with it. And here's the options. Like setting that whole roadmap right for her. She traveled, perfectly with it. And it was awesome to see that. Other than that, just not using like, I don't know, like having an answer for stuff. If she comes up to me, like, I'm going to figure it out. I have this, like, if I don't know, I do know kind of thing. Like I got to know. So just being that, having that type of profile around her, it really helps her.
What would you call that trait, to like just always, even if you don't know, to like know you'll figure it out? What would you call that?
Um, I always think of it more as like alpha-ish, but I don't know, like
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're giving her certainty, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And certainty makes her feel what?
Secure.
Yeah, safe, secure. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times the opposite of certainty is that complacency, right? And that complacency is what leads to like the roommate syndrome. It's just like, exactly. But you know what? Instead of me making assumptions here, right? I want to learn, like, for you personally, right? Like over the years, how do you think that happened? Like, how did it lead to this roommate? Like, I'm sure you've analyzed this, like you look back at the past, like, how did this actually happen? How did it for you?
A lot of it is like taking what you have for granted. Like you look at which I did, as soon as, because you guys kind of even laid it out like that. Like look back from day one, like when I first met my wife. We were still dating. Like everything that I did was for me. Like I had my plan, everything else, and then over time, I kind of folded. I became weak. I kind of adapted all my lifestyle around my wife, and I just I didn't have that framework anymore to me. So it was huge for me to kind of step back into that and just build myself back up, knowing that I can go take off in the evening and let her know, like, hey, tonight I'm going to go shoot my bow. I'm going to go to the archery range. I'll be gone tonight. And I've done that a few times. And it's the first time it was like, it was pretty priceless to see her look on her face. Like she knew I was stressed out. Like, hey, I just need to get out. I need to go shoot my bow for a little while. And I didn't take like anything else for an answer. Like there's no reason I shouldn't be able to go. And I did that, and I came back and she was very, very happy with it. Like I came back in a different plan, different platform. I was reset, ready to tackle it all. It was last week she came up to me, and this is something where I would, in the past, like I would have just said yes, like because I don't want any conflict here. She wanted to do, it was a pretty expensive type skin treatment for herself. And I kind of just let her know, like, hey, I'll think about it today. Kind of busy. Let's talk about it tonight. So before we went to bed, we were talking about it, and I kind of let her know, like, I just this month it is not in the budget. Like, I don't want to do it, and I was fine with that. Like, what she wanted to say. The next morning, she woke up and I was out in the kitchen making breakfast for us, and she came out and gave me a hug, and like she was fine with it. Like to where I used to always be afraid of that stuff. Like, I better say yes, otherwise she's gonna be pissed. But what did that ever get me? You know, like I never had me having a backbone to actually have my frame that's solid. That's what, like, she truly does, respect that. Like I knew, I just need to tell her no, like it's not in the budget. Don't tiptoe around it. And that's what I did, and it was just how that works. It's unreal.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed it that way.
it's beautiful, man. What would you say? Actually, by the time we have remaining, I'll say, like, actually, I'll ask this question. I like asking this question. So, Ryan, if you can go back a year, or if you want to go a little bit more, and you can give yourself a piece of advice, just tell yourself 1 minute, say something to him. What would you tell yourself a year ago?
A year ago, Um, just like not forgetting who, like what what makes me as like a man myself, like not forgetting those things. Um, and like that truly is, that's the way Lindsay met me, and that's the way, like I can stay that way.
Hmm.
And I left so much of that stuff behind, and really that stuff was my happiness. That's how I escaped everything.
Yeah.
And it's all a very, and it's stuff, my kids love to do. Lindsay even loved to do it before we had kids. So like not forgetting that stuff, I think, is the best advice I could give myself.
Yeah. And how do you keep that on top of mind and not forget it again?
How do I do it? Just constant reminders to myself, just that's what I need to do. I need that stuff so I can stay on task.
Beautiful.